That's so cute.
All right, there we go.
All right. Hi, everyone. My name is Christina Pulver. I'm Director of Operations and Recruiting Coordinator at Forza One Volleyball Club in California. And we're here today with head coach at Lehigh University in Pennsylvania, Alexa Keckler.
Hi
Hello.
there. Hi, how are you?
We're doing great. Thank you so much for taking the time today. You know, the idea really
Yeah.
comes from the fact that our athletes aren't able to get on campus and learn about your program. So why not do it virtually? So this is really a get to know you call about
Mhm.
about Lehigh and the Mountain Hawks, and we'll go from here.
Great.
Yeah, how are you
Okay, awesome.
doing managing? You got a house full over there, huh?
We do, yeah, yeah. My husband's a college basketball coach, and we have 4 kids. So 14, 10, and 7-year-old twins. So we are super busy. We still love each other. We haven't gotten on anyone's nerves too much yet. And we're just trying to make the most of it and keep spirits up and be ready for when we can come out of all of this.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So how are you going about keeping your team mentally connected and physically ready for the Patriot League in the fall?
Yeah, so right now, a couple things that we have in place. The first is we've divided our family. Typically, this is normal, but more importantly, now that we are apart, we have small families. So our team is divided into like 3 or 4 players, and
Okay.
those players, are to connect more often and hold each other accountable to um, their workouts and things like that that we have kind of established and or we've assigned them. So that's been really good to have them do that on their own. We started a book, which was really awesome, and we started that right when this all happened. We knew we were going to be at least 2-3 weeks for sure, and so we decided to go ahead and start a book. So we actually started a John Gordon book, The Shark and the Goldfish,
Okay.
which seems to be pretty applicable right now. They had not read that, and it's an easy read, but something that we found to be pretty, again, applicable to this situation, but definitely when we're training, when we change lineups, when we may have someone competing for, court time or starting spot. So just that whole growth versus fixed mindset and, perspective and how that plays. So that's been fun. So we meet once a week virtually, and we talk about the book and how that applies and what are things that, we can do to be better and stronger when we do get back on the court. And then we have the small family meetings every other week. And then actually the girls have been pretty awesome. They do a team bonding. Typically it's been every Thursday when we were on campus, and now they're doing that. They're continuing that on Thursdays virtually. So trying to do those things. We have weekly check-ins academically that we're doing just to make sure that this whole process of learning virtually is, going well, and that, they still have to stay eligible and they still have to be attending classes and all of those things. So those are just some little things that we're working on together to stay connected.
Yeah, it's a different spring for you in particular too. You're normally
For
out at
sure.
tournaments and
We
probably
are.
conducting a lot more on-campus visits and so now we're all having to become experts on social media and
Yes.
Zoom calls and trying to look at the
Yes.
camera.
I know. It's wild. It is wild.
Well, you've had a lot of success over the years as a collegiate coach. Why don't you talk to us a little bit about how you got into volleyball and how that led to you
Mhm.
into coaching?
Yeah. So I played volleyball growing up, obviously, played in college. When I left, I was actually a little burnt out after my collegiate career ended. I was a little burnt out, kind of took some time away, and then got into some club coaching because I started to miss it again. And then from there, just found some opportunities at the collegiate level, stepped in at Gettysburg College to begin my career as an interim head coach. And that was kind of the end of it. I fell in love with doing it full time. Loved the connections, loved seeing the girls grow, and having the opportunity to work with great staff members, and really just the whole recruiting aspect was fun. It was never, for me, it was never the same every day. So I love the fact that it wasn't a 9 to 5 job. There was interactions, there was travel, there was competition. So I really enjoyed that aspect of it. And then, like I said, my husband is a college basketball coach, so he took a head job, and then we relocated, and that's when I left Gettysburg to come to Muhlenberg, which spent some time there rebuilding the program, and then had the opportunity to interview at Lehigh, which was just a few minutes away from where I was actually coaching, so I did not have to move or relocate. and found my time, here at Lehigh to be really amazing. It was a great step for me in my career, but also just a great institution to be a part of, caring people, a great staff, great colleagues. And for me, I really love the balance that Lehigh offers. So at the Division III level, that was for me, what I enjoyed was there were students and athletes. It wasn't per se a job where if you don't perform, you're out.
Mhm.
And that was one of the things I didn't really want in my career. I like to get to know my players. I like there to be relationships. I like to be able to pick up the phone and call them and say, hey, what's going on? They can pop in, still, connecting with them even now after they've graduated. And so I didn't want to lose that aspect of the job. And when I interviewed at Lehigh, I really found that to still be the case. So our student athletes are great in the classroom. They're amazing workers on the court. They value, the balance, and they're a lot of fun to be around.
Yeah, I actually got to visit your campus a couple years ago. It is gorgeous. Oh my gosh, it's
Yeah.
stunning. And
Yeah. The
and
spring
also,
is amazing too. This is like one of the best times to be on the campus with the flowers blooming and all of that. So I hate that we're not out there right now.
yeah, a very good friend of mine, her son is going to be going into his sophomore year. And I know just from learning through her and then obviously doing some research on your school, it's a very academic institution. It's tough to
It
get
is.
into. So
It is.
how do your players go about managing the academics with the rigors of the volleyball program? What does Lehigh help provide them with?
Yes. So we have some great academic support within athletics, but we also have great academic support across the campus. So our players, will meet. We process that weekly. So we meet with them, and or they fill out reports where we know exactly what classes they have exams coming up in, what exams have come, what their grades are in those projects, papers. So we monitor that weekly. Then we have academic support that helps get our players tutors. They're free, and we really there's no stigma with tutors at Lehigh, so a lot of people think I only get them when I'm not doing well. We really encourage our players to have tutors in any of the tough classes, because it's important that they have that assistance, that accountability each week to study, to review notes, to go over lectures. So we have those in place. And then a lot of our players end up taking classes that others took before them. So it's nice to even see them on bus rides or in our team room, just kind of tutoring each other, helping each other out.
Mhm.
And then we do have study hall hours for anyone below a 3.0, and all freshmen.
Okay. Are there any majors that they can't take?
No,
Okay.
nope, they can major in anything. So we have biomechanical engineers on our team. We have pre-med students on our team. We have business, accounting, psychology, computer science. So we kind of run the gamut of majors. And the other nice thing is we don't have, we practice at the end of the academic day. So for our students, they don't have to like skip practice for class or skip class for practice. They're able to take whatever courses they need during the day, and then we practice after the academic day. So that is one bonus for them, that they're not being torn with that. They do get preferential treatment with scheduling,
Mm,
so that does help them to get in the classes they need to get in at the times that we would want them in,
mm,
specifically because we want them to miss as few amount of classes as possible.
absolutely. And do you find that do you have them report for summer school or no?
We do not right now. Most of the time, our athletes have the opportunity in the summer to do internships and connect. So part of, our philosophy at Lehigh is to help them to learn and grow and be prepared to lead in their 4 years. And in order to do that, we want them to make the connections that are going to help them for the following 40 years, not just the 4 that they're here. So pretty much, I'd say 90% of our student athletes on our team do an internship every summer. Some of them are local in or around Bethlehem, which is great because they can stay in their on-campus or off-campus housing. They can lift with our strength coaches, and they can participate in the internships. Most of them are paid, some of them are not. And then many of them will go even abroad for a few months or 6-8 weeks in the summer, where they'll have a paid or unpaid internship through the institution.
That is awesome.
Yeah.
Very
And
unique.
most of them have jobs from that. So a lot of them, before they've even graduated, January, February, they're already employed. So of our 6 seniors that are graduating now, 4 of them already have been committed with a job or accepted into graduate school.
Even right now?
Hmm.
Oh, that's great. Oh,
Mhm.
you got to
Yeah.
feel for the seniors right now, right?
Yeah. Yeah. The two that
I've
don't
got
have it are a little nervous.
are you postponing graduation or what are you guys doing?
Right. So we've postponed it, but I think that they're probably going to kind of see how things go. And then we were actually, when I was on the phone the other day with the girls that we were Zooming and the seniors, we were just kind of discussing when we thought it might take place. So I don't know if it'll happen maybe during like a parents weekend in the fall,
Uh,
or if it'll be like homecoming weekend, or if it'll be like at the end of the semester.
mhm,
But I don't think that they would postpone it all the way till next year.
mhm,
So it'll happen at some point, I would assume, between
mhm.
now and spring semester of next year.
Do you, so do most of your players live locally enough to where they can come back for that? Or are you going to have seen, I know your roster is pretty eclectic. I mean, are you guys
Yeah.
gonna fly back or what do you think?
Yeah. I mean, for most of them, we have Texas, Ohio, Minnesota, um, Pittsburgh, so none of them are just like a hop, skip, and a jump away.
Yeah.
So it'll be, I mean, that class is extremely tight. And so I know that they're going to want to graduate together and have those photos and those memories. So I would look for all of them to fly back in. It's pretty important to them to be a part of that.
That's pretty awesome. Well, I think one of the unique parts of being, especially on the East Coast, is you do get players from all over the country. And, you know, the
Mhm.
good news, I think, too, speaking about California specifically, is I think now more than ever, I'm hearing a lot more recruits wanting to have that experience out of state.
Yeah.
And we have more recruits on the East Coast than we've ever had. And so maybe you can talk to us a little bit about what you see are some of the differences on the East Coast versus the West Coast. Do you ever play in tournaments on the West Coast? How
Mhm.
have you done with recruits from out of state in general?
Yeah. So, for us, I would say the overarching thing is that to me, it doesn't matter where they come from. It's whether they have the characteristics and the intangibles along with their skill sets that really make a difference. So whether they're from Texas, Ohio, or California, we want the players who are going to be all in, bought in, hardworking, team first mentality, coachable athletes, and we want them regardless of where they come from. Getting to see them play is always a challenge, especially in an environment like this. But typically, we travel to, qualifiers all over the country. So we get to see them play. We try to do some camps and attend different things in the summertime when we're able to be able to be exposed to that. The difference initially is the time difference. So most of our athletes that are coming from either, central, mountain, or Pacific time zone, we have them come to campus a few days earlier, just to get acclimated, because when we have an 8 a.m. practice and it's 5 a.m. their time, it's a little hard to adjust those first couple days. So getting them there a little bit earlier is important. I would say in some cases there's a little bit more of like a laid back mentality. In our California kids, they're like kind of, I don't want to say like a go with the flow kind of people, but if I had to look at the couple that we've had since I've been recruiting, not just at Lehigh but even previously, they tend to be more of like a, yeah, that sounds good, we can do that, we'll go with that. But talent wise, they've been exposed, they've been around the game typically a little bit longer, just they have a little bit more experience, I would say, with court awareness, because most of them have played beach at some point, they've been outside.
Mhm.
So I think that's anytime you can play with doubles outside, indoors, whatever it might be, it gives them a little bit better IQ and court awareness. So I would certainly say that's definitely a characteristic I see a lot more within our California kids.
Yeah, I mean, we have our kids in the gym, sometimes up to 4 days a week, and then they're taking, specialty classes, skills classes, one-on-one training, a lot of times,
Yeah.
additional fitness training. But and then we're definitely trying to continue to build the beach volleyball. We're inland about an hour, but we do have courts we use, and I mean, what a great way to train ball control, quickness.
Absolutely.
So that's definitely something we're trying to keep, continue with the
Yeah.
California um,
Yeah.
ideology. But so one of the top three, I guess, priorities in recruits of mine is the coaching staff and how well do they connect to the coaching staff and the coaching philosophy. So how would you describe your coaching philosophy of you and your staff?
Yeah, so for us, it's definitely being connected. So it's really important to me that we're connected as a staff, connected as team, but also that we are setting an example for our players. So not just asking them to do one thing and then us not, but for us setting the example of doing the right thing, of being all in, of putting the time in, of not cutting corners, of, hey, if we're going to ask you to be here at 6 a.m. for practice, we're going to be here. We're going to be ready to go, energized and excited to be better today than we were yesterday. So part of that is, staying in tune with one another, keeping tabs on our players. I can't stress the relationship piece enough for me. I just think it's really hard to motivate young athletes if you don't know who they are, if you don't know how they tick, if you don't know what makes them strive to be better. And so it's important that our staff knows our players and takes the time to get to know them, not just I walk in, I coach, and then I leave, but I'm here, I'm around, I'm available, this is who I am. With me, like there are days where, I have 4 kids and we're trying to juggle all that stuff. And, I can walk into practice and say, this was a crazy, crazy day. And here's where I am, but I'm just going to vent to you, let you know where I am so we can all be back on the same page. So it's also important that we can be vulnerable and that we can be open with one another, because we're not perfect and our players have bad days. They have tough classes. They have relationships. They have families that are far away, and there's tough days. And so it's important that we have an environment where our coaching staff can be vulnerable, where our players can be vulnerable, where we understand and know that everyone is going to have a bad day and we're here to help pick each other up. So I would say from that standpoint, that's the type of staff and the type of culture that we want to have here and are building here at Lehigh.
Yeah, no, that sounds awesome. It sounds like a tight group. Do they live together, most of your players?
Yeah, so they do, but we actually don't allow them to live together as freshmen. We think it's
Okay.
just really important that they have the opportunity to meet people outside of volleyball, that they can make different connections. So they also have a place to be separate, so they can go and just, not be, we're together all of the time. We're traveling, we're competing, we're practicing, we're lifting, we're training. So I think it's necessary for all of us to have that time away. And so as freshmen, we kind of would do like a matchmaking thing with other athletes. So they're with other athletes so that they understand, hey, I have to be in bed, or I have these requirements. So there's an understanding between the athletes. But after freshman year, all of our athletes end up choosing to live together. So our sophomores live together. Our juniors is pretty big class right now, but they've kind of separated into like small groups. So they all live together just differently. And then our entire senior class live together for sophomore, junior, and senior year. So they're a pretty tight knit group. They like to spend time together. But we work a lot on trying to be open and honest, because it's hard when your best friend is also like on your team and you have to get on them about something. It's not always easy to get on your friend as it is to get on a teammate. So we have to work on those things sometimes.
Yeah, no, I still say I don't really remember a lot of the actual volleyball games from my college days, but I definitely remember those bus rides, the practical jokes, the inside jokes we all had. But it's those friendships and connections. I'm still best friends with my volleyball grass doubles partner from Chico State.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, so switching gears a little bit towards injury prevention. I think injuries are obviously just a part of sports to some degree or to another. What do you guys do in terms of your strength conditioning and injury prevention at Lehigh?
Mm-hmm. So we have, this might be all over the map here, but if I'm thinking preseason, we spend a lot of time doing a pre and post warm up. So like we'll have a warm up that gets everyone, going. We're taking a look at getting our heart rates up. And then we have a cool down, and they're pretty much designed by our athletic trainers and our strength and conditioning coaches together. So they're looking at what injuries that are more common, and also what are things that we are dealing with currently. So trying to go through those. So we have a warm up and a cool down as we go through preseason. We typically lift twice a week during season. So most of that'll be maintenance stuff, again, strengthening, whether it's ankles, hips, hip mobility, shoulder mobility, core, abs and back. So we do a lot of that stuff in season to maintain the strength, but also for that same prevention. Our athletes are required to see our athletic trainer twice a week, regardless of whether or not they're injured. They have to meet with them and also kind of just touch base on how are you feeling overall. What's our diet like? Is there anything that's tweaking, anything that's starting to feel tight? And some of our girls go in twice a week just to do like, again, it could be band work for shoulders. It could be ankle strengthening just because they've had issues in the past.
Mhm.
So those are things that we do as a team, that's required of them in season. And then once we get to out of season, we're working out 4 to 5 days a week with our strength coach. And at that point, we're continuing again to stay with our mobility and our maintenance of core strengthening. But at this point, we're also trying to really push. We're trying to gain strength elsewhere. We're trying to improve our vertical, our reaction time, our agility. So that's kind of what you'll see in the spring. But for us, it's it's really easy with the academic schedule to kind of get overwhelmed with, well, I have these classes, and then I have this time to study, and then I have to be in the gym. And so we try to make it as easy as possible for them to have the opportunity to see our strength coaches. We have bands, we have foam rollers right in our class. So we have all of those pieces. We try to make it as easy as possible so that our athletes really don't have an excuse. But for whatever reason, no one ever likes to stretch. So it's definitely like I feel like when we started really getting on them last spring, we were like babysitting them. Like it is important to stretch. Like you have to cut out the time to do that. And so we've really tried to help them by cutting out that time before and after our practices so that they have to do that.
It seems so simple, but and because
Right?
of that, I think people forget or just choose not to. Oh, I got to go now.
Yeah.
I know.
Yeah. I'm going to work out to the very last
Yeah.
second and then bolt.
Exactly.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah. One of the things we're working on right now, we have the Zoom meetings, film review. And I've heard from other coaches too, that sometimes because we can't then get right back into the gym and fix maybe something that we've noticed on our video, you get a little stressed out or anxiety over it. So talking about like the mental aspects of the game, and you can talk about it right now or just like throughout this season. How do you help players on the mental game?
Yeah, so we're fortunate. We do have a psychologist that works with our team. So it's nice to have her perspective. She'll come to practices and matches, kind of get a feel. But a lot of it is just, I think when we practice, we don't practice all the time game-like situations. So it's really easy to, have that pressure, or it's hard sometimes to simulate that same pressure that we feel in a game. And for us, that's actually something that we were working on really, really hard this spring to bring into our gym. Was we identified areas where we felt were struggle. And it was like baby steps. We're not asking you to go from point, from A to Z overnight. We're asking you to get to B, and then we'll get to C, and then we'll keep moving our way to where we need to be. But I think a lot of it's focus, a lot of it's repetition. We had girls who had, dots on their hands to remind them that they had to do this specific thing. We had things taped to the wall so that every water break, when they went over, they would see, okay, my job is to do this. We had them on their water bottles. Some of them put them on their water bottles. So every time they got a drink, they had that word or whatever it was to remember. Like, I have to say my pre-serve routine, or I have to say this, or after I make a mistake, I'm going to take my deep breath, or I'm going to, whatever it is. So a lot of it is I just think habitual and getting into a routine and, talking through that we're all going to make mistakes. We just have to be able to move forward to that next ball mentality. So we try to incorporate, opportunities for them to fail, and then what do they look like when they fail, and how are they going to fix that? I do think it's important that they have to be a part of that solution. And so talking with them and setting goals of, okay, here's what we've identified. How do you think we should fix it? What are steps that you're going to help to take? Because we can tell them all we want to do X, Y, and Z, but if they're not bought into it, or they don't understand why they're doing it, it's hard to really achieve the goals and the results that you want. So, we talk about that with them. We'll watch film with them. We'll have them break down the film. Hey, what did you do here? Tell me why this didn't work, or what could we have done differently in this situation? So I think getting them to own their mistakes, and then know we're not asking for perfection. We're just asking you to work at being better, a little bit better today than you were yesterday. Or, hey, now this is something we've seen us do multiple times. How do we get from making that error 5 times in a match to let's get it to 3? So those are the things that we talk about, but a lot of it just accountability. It's coming back to saying, this is what we decided we wanted to fix. This is what we decided we want to be better at. How are we going to do that? And this is what you committed to doing. So let's get after it, you know?
Yeah, no, that's awesome. I've heard nothing but great things about you and the school you've been at and Lehigh. And I think, I mean, we would love to get some players out and just visit and check out. Have you guys
Yes.
been able to secure these summer camps? I mean, it's probably also up in the air.
Oh, right. Well, we actually had a staff meeting on Friday where we were informed we are unable to have our camps this summer.
Okay.
I don't know where things will go, if there'll be maybe a loosening of the reins. But I would say, based on that decision, nothing through the end of July, and then it's hard for us because we're all going right back into season at that point.
Yeah.
So it'll be a little tricky. We're trying to be creative in some other ways, even if that means we're doing stuff more of like the one-day clinics throughout the fall, just
Yeah.
to try to get some player. We typically do have that already in place. We have a spring. We're actually supposed to have our spring ID clinic yesterday, and we do a fall as well. So just trying to look at different times to get that on the calendar so that we can get some more kids exposed and be able to have them on our campus. Obviously I'm biased, but I think our campus is amazing. I think the area surrounding it just is, there's so many great things, restaurants, music, culture. I mean, and you can be in, a populated, fun, active area, and then 20-minute drive, and you can go hiking on trails and by the river, and you can go apple orchard picking apples at the apple orchard. There's a lot of great things to do in the Lehigh Valley, and we're so fortunate with that. So I think getting kids to campus and really showing them that, and the advantage of having a great education, and it's a pretty cool place to compete, and our team's pretty awesome. So
Yeah, no, well, are you ever, we would love to have you at Forza. Are you, or your staff, or all your staff, are you in the future planning on getting out to West Coast, where you can almost come in and do clinics, or even just come in the gym and check out our kids?
Yeah, absolutely. So that was actually this quarantine has been interesting because it's given us an opportunity to really dive a little deeper. I mean, this is I just completed my second full year at Lehigh in February, so I was still kind of in the process of figuring out what things I didn't like, what things I did like, and so we're all kind of, as a staff, we've been looking for ways to be a little bit more intentional, more efficient with all of our processes, from recruiting to evaluating to camps, clinics, whatever it might be. So that is something that's come up for us. Is I had already scheduled to go to 2 different clubs this summer to try to start that process of getting, and now, obviously those will probably be out the window, but yes, absolutely. We would love to get out there to see your players, for you to have the opportunity to also, your players to get to work with us too. I mean, it's the best way. And
Absolutely.
even for us, just from a recruiting and evaluating standpoint, talent is amazing. I love talented kids. Obviously we need talent to win. But it's a bigger picture for me. It's about the type of kid that we're getting. Are they supportive? Are they a great teammate? Are they coachable? Do they have the ability to just be, I'm gonna take whatever you give me. I'm gonna ask questions. If you tell me to do this, I'm gonna try. I might not be great at it, but I'm gonna try. And if we're winning and we're doing great and I'm not the one on the court, I'm still going to be supportive. I'm going to challenge my teammates. And, so there's a lot of intangibles you can't always see on a video. And getting to work with those athletes one-on-one or in a camp setting it's irreplaceable. So anytime we can have the opportunity to be on the court with them, or have them be on the court with us in our facility, we would take advantage of that for sure.
Okay, well, awesome. Well, I definitely appreciate your time today, Coach. If there's anything
Absolutely.
else you wanted to add, I mean, you've been so informative, and I feel like we've gotten a really great picture of Lehigh.
Oh, good. No, I mean, I would just say the Patriot League is an amazing league to play in. We have a great staff, great players. It's fun. If you love the sport, keep working hard at it, obviously. And, I think if there's any recruiting advice I would give, I would just say to pick your non-negotiables and stick with them. I wouldn't rule anything out, but there's typically, a lot of kids go through this long process, and sometimes they make a decision and they kind of like, well, I didn't I didn't really know what I wanted to do, or I knew what I wanted to do and they didn't have the major, but I can play volleyball, so I'll figure out something else to do.
Yeah.
Or you know what, that had a Chipotle in their, food center, so I'm going to go there because that's my favorite restaurant. But really thinking about what are your non-negotiables,
So
and
true.
getting them on a list. And if colleges don't have that, be upfront. I mean, every college coach will probably tell you we get told no way more than we get told yes. So it's just to me, it's a matter of what are the most important things to you, and not veering from that, sticking to that and asking those questions and not being afraid to ask them.
And
But
yeah, that they're in the driver's seat. They're the
yeah,
ones making this decision. I think they get, a little bit nervous or want to make a quick reaction, a quick decision. And unfortunately,
yeah,
sometimes they're the ones that end up wanting to, or feeling like they want to transfer.
yeah,
So we're really big on having options, do your research, check out
right,
as much as you can about the universities, and be open-minded. But
yeah,
your
yeah,
non-negotiables, I agree with you. I love when we can get our alumni back in the gym for Q&As, or
yes,
we're gonna do some Instagram takeovers with some of our alumni, and just having that access for our younger players to pick the brains of the players that have been there. The transfers, the D2s, the D3s, the NAIAs, the D1s.
yeah,
Just talk to them all, because there is a home for everyone, and
yeah.
just
I
find.
totally agree with that. I really do.
Yeah,
And if you do your vetting and you do your homework, you shouldn't be in those positions. We're
yeah,
pretty fortunate at Lehigh. Our transfer rate specifically for volleyball is, like minuscule, maybe 1%. I mean, we just don't have kids transferring from Lehigh, and so it's because we're a little bit later, and it's also because they're choosing Lehigh, not just because they can compete at a high level and have a great athletic career, but after 4 years, what are they going to do, and what's going to help get them prepared for that? And I think sometimes that's not always considered. So looking at all of that, figuring out your non-negotiables, and knowing that there is a place for everyone. You just have to be willing to look for it.
yeah, no, absolutely. Well, I thank you again, and we'll look
Sure.
forward to seeing you at Forza one of these days, and we'll look forward to seeing you out on the trail, and best of luck to you. Take
Awesome. Thank you so much. I really appreciate the time.
Thank you. Okay,
Yeah.
take care.
Bye.